Okay. Great recap from the weekend. Obviously, 1-1 is better than 0-2, and 1-1 is not quite as good as 2-0. But I think anytime we're able to come away from a victory like we did on Saturday, and again, I mean, we hadn't beaten Idaho State since 2012. So to tick that one off the list was particularly satisfying, especially when I feel like in my career, every year I've been really close to beating them. And so I've had a bit of, I'm trying to think of the right term, I would say a burr in my butt about Idaho State. And beating them in four was really satisfying. Again, some big performances over the weekend. I think you look at Alyssa Rizzo, again, putting up huge numbers. And Tom just told me as we walked in, she's up to third in the nation, which is just incredible in my mind, especially when, again, I'll give you guys a little bit of insight on her each week, but she did an overnight clinical from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. on Friday night before she played on Saturday. And so just to do what she's doing is just an incredible achievement. And then I think, Evie Wilson in that fourth set, 11 swings, 7 kills, 0 errors, which is just unbelievable. I don't know where that fire came from, but I'll remind her of that one and what she's capable of when she really puts her heart and mind into it. And then I think Kira Thompson had something like 24 digs and 11 kills as well, which is just an incredible achievement. And I think it speaks volumes about the depth of the program. When you got Lexi Gorosky coming in, and we keep a unique statistic. It's called what we call a knockout statistic. It's when we're able to serve tough enough to knock the opponent out of system. And typically we're looking to knock out around 30 to 40%. On the weekend, Lexi knocked out at 57%, which is just a phenomenal rate of knocking them out and kept them out of system, allowed us to get on runs when she was serving. You can always rely on Lexi for a run each match. And then you had Sydney and Haley coming in there and finishing the match off really strong. And there was a really unique moment there at the end of the fourth set where you had Casey O'Dell, who had come in for Kelsey, and you had Casey O'Dell and you had Haley Merkus both on the floor. And for those who know anything about our program, know that Haley has beaten cancer at the conclusion of her freshman year, and you have Casey O'Dell who had open heart surgery last February. And so when you have two just incredible achievements for those two athletes to even be on the floor, but to be playing at the level they are is just so impressive. And I don't know, I sat there for a moment when we were up, I think it was 23-14 or whatever the score was, and I was just able to sit back and contemplate that for a moment. And this is an incredible group of young women. What they do off the court is unnoticed. But what they deal with in real life is something that is not always highlighted either. So I think, when we got student athletes that, doing the academic demands they do, and then you got some of them dealing with health issues the way they have as well, is pretty incredible. So that's about my recap.
You kind of brought up the depth there, and you look at last year where you had Haley Merkus quite in the rotation quite a bit, and then you had Evie Wilson, I think, at middle blocker because your depth was so low. But then this year you can bring in a Casey O'Dell when you need her.
Yeah.
And then you've kind of figured out your rotations overall with your 8 or 9 players that you see kind of trickle in. What's it like to just see the changes between last year and this year?
Oh man, it's night and day, and I think that's what's giving us the opportunity to be successful in the Big Sky right now is our depth. I think last year at one point we were down to 8 or 9 healthy bodies out of a roster of 17. And to be at, and we've still got two of our girls coming off, knee injuries that they sustained last year. But other than that, we have 14 healthy bodies that we can call on. And, there's depth there that I'm comfortable to call on any of those 14. So, yeah, it's a difference maker. There's no doubt.
Coach, you said that before you guys played Weber State, you said that they were the best team in the Big Sky on paper.
Yeah.
How did you see that on Thursday night?
Yeah, I think, again, I my quote to Tom after the match was I didn't think we did too well in the serve-pass battle, and that was my gut. And, if I know anything as a coach, you got to rely on the numbers more than your gut. And it turns out we actually beat them in the serve-pass battle. It was close, though. And we feel like that's an area of strength of ours where we can serve tough and knock teams out of system. But they just have the weapons. They have power in every possession where they can terminate the ball. And if they're on the front foot, which they found themselves on at times, they're a very dangerous team. No doubt that Northern Colorado has earned the right to be top of our conference right now. I think they're 8-0. But to me, Weber State, their record does not match the talent they have in that gym. So, yeah, I mean, they just turned up and showed it. And I was hoping this weekend would not be the catalyst of the beginning of their run in the season, but it may well be, I imagine. And I'm excited to go back down there and see how we can challenge them again when we get down there last week of conference. So it'll be good.
When you say knock a team out of system, what does that mean specifically?
Yeah, so basically, anytime you got the 10-foot line on the court that is kind of designates the front row. Anytime you can force them to pass the ball and they have to set the ball from somewhere behind the 10-foot line, that's what we consider knocking them out of system. What it basically does is reduces their options of who they can set. They basically takes the middle out of play for most teams. And then you're down to picking on one of two strengths in terms of the pins, and particularly if their setter is front row and they're in a two-hitter rotation, ultimately they've got one kid they're going to set, and that just gives us an opportunity to be really good defensively and put up a big block. And I think you saw that at Idaho State when I think we had 12 or 14 blocks in the end. And that was really the blocking is usually related to the serving. If we're having a good night blocking, it's usually because we're having a good night serving. So, yeah, I like that statistic.
What's your mindset going into a weekend like this where you have an away match and then you come back home and it's against Team Sacramento State and Portland State that are kind of trying to move up the Big Sky standings where they're kind of in the middle of the pack? What's the mindset for the team?
Yeah, I am pumped. I'm pumped. I mean, we get to go on this is a road week for us. And we get to go and we leave on Wednesday, come back on Friday, and we're in the confines of Schroyer again on Saturday. And I mean, the community support we are receiving right now is just phenomenal. I mean, for those who've been in the gym during a match, 1,200 people every night, and the roof is coming off Schroyer. There's no doubt we're shaking it. And I hope the insurance company hasn't quit on their roof repairs around here. Just unbelievable support. So we're pumped to go get Portland State at their place. I think it's a unique opportunity. It's the last time Evie Wilson gets to go home. She's a Vancouver native, which is right out of Portland. So I know there'll be a lot of that support there for her and for us as a program. And we feel like we match up really well with Portland State. And then to be able to come home and play Sac State at home is going to be huge because. That's a team a little bit like Idaho State, where I haven't beaten them in my career, and I don't know. I got a bit of a bear on my butt about Sac State as well. I think they're a very well-coached team. I think if you look at what they're doing throughout conference, they're relying a lot on a few kids. And so if we can serve tough and knock them out of system like we've discussed, I think we can manipulate it to our advantage. It'll be good. But
I wasn't able to be here when you recapped NAU, but that was a huge victory for you guys. The one thing that they did say, there were a lot of serving errors.
Yeah.
Has that number decreased over the last few weeks since you guys have played them?
Yeah, so look, in terms of statistically serving errors, we want to get it in the court about 85% of the time. If you're serving at 100% of the time, you're not taking any risks. And to get back to that knockout percentage, you need to be taking some risk serving. So I think serving errors at critical times kind of make you you want to swallow your tongue sometimes when that happens, but it's one of those things where if we're taking good reps at the ball, I'm great with it. We always talk about a serve in the net is the least palatable service error because that means the opponent don't have to make a decision. But if you're serving and it's landing a foot out on the sideline or a foot out on the end line, that's a great serve for me if it's tough with no spin and velocity because the opponents are having to make a decision at that point. And hey, they're going to get it right sometimes, and they're going to get it wrong other times. So, it's one of those things.